Hey folks, welcome to day 40 of the Devlog for Groenland. And today we are going to start with a request. And somebody was asking me how to do a HUD for XCOM, like an XCOM type HUD. Right, no, it's not necessarily an XCOM type game, but an XCOM type HUD with the pips for a health bar, etc. etc. Okay, now what I suggested in this particular case is, well, there isn't a suggestion to make because there's a lot of different ways you can do it, okay? But what I suggested in the first case, and I suggest for you guys, is it's always good to see results on the screen, okay? So unless you're an experienced developer and used to creating lots of back-end systems where you never see the results but you know what's going on and you can see the work actually developing, then it can be quite disheartening not to see anything really happen on the screen. And in game development, that's kind of what it's all about. You want to see things happening on the screen, right? So what I suggested was, the first thing to do is get yourself a widget and start making something that works, that you can see on the screen, you can manipulate, and it starts to give you the results you're looking for, okay? Now, I'm going to do something a bit crazy because it'll end up an absolute mess and it'll probably go down in internet history as the worst bit of stick art that you've ever seen, but we'll try it anyway. Right, so what we're trying to do actually it might not end up as bad as you think because I'm going to use a bit of copy paste here. Right, so the point being, if we think of what XCOM pip looks like, in its most basic form, it's pretty much a rectangle, right? So what we're looking at is something like that, okay? And let's say it's blue, right? Then what we'll do is we'll fill that, okay? And then we'll grab it so we shall copy that, and basically our second one will look like this, okay? And it will gradually, so say we had 3 health, okay? Hi, monstrous Arto. I'm just I was asked this morning to do, well, to do something, but it's a kind of big job. Now, if you want to see the game, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a link to the trailer for it, and you will see me develop it later, but it's just to give you something while I do this. Just give me 1 second and we'll get you a link, monstrous.rt. that'll give you a quick taster while I do this quick thing. Okay, so basically let's say this is our we've copy pasted that other link. Right, so say our person has 4 health, right? So this is basically what it looks like, okay? So this is what we're trying to replicate, okay? Now, I'm going to do a little bit more than that because I know there's a little bit more than that. Now, normally what I would do in this case, I would probably create these pips, right, as a white object, right, so that I could actually do, I can't do the resolution for this, I'll do it in a minute in Unreal Engine, okay? Right, but anyway, I would create this image in white, and then I would create the outline of the square in white, right? Because then we can manipulate it in Unreal Engine and give it the colour we want. So if we don't want blue, right, we're not saving it as blue, we save it as white and then multiply it by blue or by red or by yellow or whatever we want. And then what we do is we create a outline with a transparency, okay, and that will give us our like hit points taken, right? So that's the theory. That's what the type of thing that we want to achieve, right? So that's pretty simple to do, right? So hopefully that's bigger for you guys. Let's say we'll go to 1.4. This becomes a bit too unwieldy for me, but it's better for you guys, so we'll just do it for now. Right. Okay. So the easiest way to do this, right, is if I just do a widget, right? Now this widget, we're going to use it and we can stick it above the player's head, but we can test it in a normal way first, right? So we'll call it W pips, okay? And in our menu controller, right, we're just going to show it, right? So we'll just stick it on the end here. We'll say create widget. We don't really care where it is or whatever, we're just W pips, and this is just to show it, so you guys can do this when you want. So this would be like when a player is selected, you would show the W pips. Now it would be part of the player character, but as I said, we want to get something on the screen. Hello, Casa del Gaming. Did you have fun with my tower defense game? Right, so we're going to show this beautiful new widget, right, that's going to hold our pips. Now we're going to do this programmatically, but we could do it with the images that I just showed you. So we could create 2 images, or there's multitude of ways you could do it, right? It's up to you, you want the aesthetic or whatever. So we're going to do our thing here. We're going to wrap this with another canvas panel, right? And then we're going to center that just for a laugh, okay? 0, 0, center it out, 0.5 to align it, 0.5, 0.5, right? So now we've got our beautiful little thing in the middle, okay? Now, what we want in here is, this would probably I would end up doing something like this in code to size it, right? So in theory, I would probably add a size box in here. I would size this to content, right? And then I would add this. Remember guys, this is my first pass. I haven't really thought about this, so you'll have to give me a bit of leeway on this as we go, right? So I'd set a size box, right? And I would set a width override of, let's say, 250, right? And I would set a height override of, let's say, you could do this programmatically, remember, right? Depending on the number of pips you've got, right? So let's say we make that 50, okay? And this is going to be, well, we'll do that. We'll do 0. Okay. Now, next thing I would do is I would add a horizontal box. Okay. And then in this horizontal box, I would add a grid panel. Okay. And then this grid panel, I would make it a variable and I'd call it GP pips. Okay. And I would actually I'm glad you're liking it. Right, now at this point I would seriously consider adding another widget, right? So that I could just store an image of either the pips that we've got, then the hit points we've got, or the image of the hit point we've not got, right? So let's say you've got 6 hit points, but only 4 of them are available. You've only got 4 left, right? Basically the idea here would be, now there's another way we can do this, right? The idea would be that we're going to show 6 pips, right? And we're going to add it to our grid. We're going to add it on the X. We're going to add the 4 that we've got first, then we're going to go to 6. So we're going to go to 6, but the first 4 are going to be the image that is full, and the last 2 are going to be the ones that are transparent to, you know, give the indication that we've not got those hit points anymore, right? But what we could either do it around, let's do it. Right, so we'll create another user interface. Yes, you can do that. All you need to do is make the widget hidden until that player is selected, right? So, yeah. So, in this case, I would call it individual pip, right? So, and all this is going to be is basically an image, right? And with that image, as I said, you would set this up if the pip was supposed to be filled or not, right? So we'll do that for now, right? We'll okay that. And then we'll save that, okay? Remember, this is just to start, right? This is to give you something on the screen, because obviously the whole point of the question was build a battle system with hit points and all the rest of it, right? Now, your basis and the visible thing you're going to see is the pips, right? But there's going to be loads of things going on in the background. Now, for the likes of XCOM and that, it's not actually going to be that complicated. All you're going to be doing is, again, multitude of ways of doing it. Basically, I would have on each of my soldiers, I would have a receive damage, right? And basically the monsters would send out an interface to that, an interface call, and say receive damage, 2 damage, or receive damage in the value, right? And then you would just basically recalculate this widget and show it on screen, right? That's all I would do, right? But you have to have the structure set up, you have to have the enum if necessary, the widget set up, etc, etc. But this is just something to let you see and get going, right? So in here, as I said, what I would probably do is, we've got our GP pips, right? So when we start, so on our event construct at this point, we would probably actually not do that. I would add a custom event first, right? And the custom event would basically say update health pips, right? We'll just keep it all kind of related to pips, okay? And on event construct, I would call update pips. Update pips, right? And then in our interface call or whatever, we would just call update pips, right? So we would have a health variable, right? Now this would normally be on the player, right? And you pass it in, but because we're not doing it that way, I'll just create a thing, right? HP. Now you'd have something like current HP, right? So that would represent the number of pips you've got. Let's say that's an integer, and then we would have in our structure, we'd have another one which would represent the maximum health we could get, right? So if somebody heals you, it can go up to this number. So I would say something like max HP. That would also be a thing, right? So we'll compile that, and we'll basically set the defaults on these, right? So let's say our maximum health possible is 6. Our current is, let's say, 4, right? That gives us something to work on, right? As I said, once you've done this, right, I wouldn't sit there and worry about how it looks right now, right? I would want something that looks okay, gets the job done, transmits what it's the information it's transmitting. Then I would actually start on the back end systems that gets it tied into the player, the actual character, blah blah blah, right? But first of all, we want to see something on the screen, right? So we're showing our pips, right? We've done that in our player controller for the menu, okay? We've got that here, okay? So in here, what we're going to do is we're going to say a for loop, okay? Now we'll break these down. A for loop is just a loop between numbers, okay? Like a for each is looping around every object, but this is like a hard and fast number of loops that we're going to do, right? And it starts from 0. We can start it if we want. There's 2 ways we can do this. If we go to current, if we pull in current HP, right? What we could do is we could say current HP minus 1, right? So that's 0 to 5, which gives us a loop of 6, okay? or we could start this at 1 and just do it to current HP. It's up to you how you do it. Depends on what languages you've been using before, like C++ and a lot of stuff. Index starts at 0. Visual Basic, index it can start at 1 if you want. Just depends on your favourite flavour of coffee, right? So next what we're going to do is we're going to need one variable, one more at least. We're going to call it, it's basically going to be call count, right? And this is going to keep an account of which column we're going to place the next widget in, okay? So we'll be going column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, etc, etc, right? So next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a widget again. We're going to create our widget 6 times, or actually 4 times because that's our current HP, right? And it's, if we type pip, we're creating an individual pip, because remember we're creating an individual pip for every single hit point we've got, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to get our GP, our grid, right? And then we're going to add child to grid, okay? And you'll notice here that this gives us the ability to add a row or a column. Now we're only going to work off one row, okay? So the only thing that's going to change for us is the column count, okay? So what we do is that, right? And then we plug in the content, okay? Hope you guys are with me so far. Then after we've done that, we get our column count again, right? And we increment it. Right? And that's it. That is fundamentally it to begin with, right? That's how we get our pips on the board. And there we go. Except they are all squished together because, yeah, I did increment it. It's probably because I didn't make this big enough, right? Or whatever, right? Let's try that again. Okay, we're only doing it once for some reason. Right. Let's check our code. That's right. We do that. So, right, so for all those new to Unreal Engine, best thing you can do is add a couple of breakpoints. And try again. And we shall see how many times it breaks, right? So there's our 1. Okay. So that's okay. It's adding our stuff okay. we're incrementing, so that should be 1 next time. So if we resume, it goes back to here, which is what we want. Right? And call counts 1. So that's right. So that's kind of weird. So this is working, right? So if you get something like this, if it doesn't, that's obviously working, right? So it must be something to do with the layout of my thing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of the size blocks, right? And this horizontal box, we're just going to say size to content. Right, we're going to take away these disable breakpoint, disable breakpoint, resume. Why is it only showing 1? I don't think it is only showing 1. What I think it's doing is right, I'm going to do that. I honestly think, oh, I think I know what it is. I think it's working fine. Right, I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Yeah. Right, I think that there's we need a padding on this. I think it's drawing the 6, right? I think it's drawing the 6, but right, what we'll do is we'll put a border around it, right? And what we'll do is we'll make the border grey, and pretty much transparent, and that's adding to it. So that we'll just add a, I don't want to waste too much time on this, I just want to get you started on this, right? So our image now, we should get a padding, right? So if we just say padding 10, okay, that should be 10s all around. Save that. That's weird. Things never quite work how you think. I'm absolutely convinced that this is a padding issue. What I think is this is the 6 buttons scrunched together, right? But having said that, this padding should have sorted that out. You can see it is. actually. If we, yeah. So the image should be in here, but the border, unless I've changed the content instead of this, which I may have done. Yeah, I did. Right, this image should not be. Why? Why is it like that now? Is the question. Why is our image wait a minute. It's because the border's got two settings, right? You can set the content in here. So there's our blue pip, right? Right, thank you. There we've got our 4 pips, okay? It was working as it should. It was a mixture of two things. It was the border that was, you know, I'd set the content to be transparent, which was causing a problem. And they were basically joining all together, right? That was the issue, right? Now, what we want to do here with this horizontal box, right, is bang into the middle, and this will give us a better idea, right? So if we bang that into the middle, right, and do like 0.5, right, stop it, let's go. Right, there's our pips, okay? And that's been generated programmatically, okay? Now, you'll see that we can now easily, we can make this the max, right? And now if we press play, we've got 6. Okay? So now we're at the point where we've got a dynamic pip drawer. Okay? Now, what we could do right is we could plug this back in. Right, now this could be our actual health pip counter. Now I'm just going to do this as a little exercise just to finish this off, right? But in this thing here, right, we could go to the graph and we can do a variable. This is just another little bit of just tips and tricks for you guys, right? But what we could say is we could do a variable and say what we call it. It's expended or not expended XP, right? Let's call it active HP. Okay, and it's going to be a bool. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to make it instance editable. We're going to make it expose on spawn. Okay, so if we go to our pips and we now refresh the nodes on here, we've now got active HP. Okay, now we're going to do one more thing here. We're going to set this back to 0 at the start of our loop, right? Because we're going to be doing a little bit more here. But anyway, so we're going to say active for the first 4, because this is our current XP, right? Now, when this is complete, what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing again, never bind the button. Watch my video on why you never bind the button. So that was your first mistake. Right, so these are the active hit points, right? i.e. our loop for our current HP. Now we want 2 more pips, right? Now the reason I say 2 is because our maximum HP is 6. Our current is 4. We should have 2 more pips, right? But those pips should be designated as inactive, okay? So what we do is we say max HP minus active HP so that minus current is going to give us 2, right? But we're going to loop again, right? So we'll duplicate that. Now, as I said before, we can either use a minus here or start this at 1. Well, that's a little bit of a more advanced question, to be honest. And we're going to say 1. I'll show you basically how to do it off a button to start with, right? Just to get you going in a minute. So what we're going to do is that, right? And then what we're going to do is that. Okay. So we're going to loop, but these are the inactive, right? And then we just want to follow this off by doing the same as this, basically. Okay, I'll keep these separate just to keep so that I don't confuse you by linking up code within code, right? So this is basically a copy of this code here, except this is the active and inactive. Okay, so at the moment, all this is going to do is give us 6, except it didn't, it gave us 4. Okay. Now, yeah, okay. Didn't plug this in. Duh. Right. So this is going to give us 6, okay? But remember, it's given us it in 2 sets. It's given it us in 4 that are active and 2 that are inactive. Okay, that's our 2 loops. Okay, so let me explain that. right? So this is loop 1, okay, and that's the active ones, and this is loop 2, which are the inactive ones. Now, what we're doing here is we're setting this active HP, but at the moment we're not doing anything with that, right? But we can, and that's what we're going to do, right? So if we go into our individual, we're going to delete that, we're going to delete that, we're going to get rid of that. Okay. So what we're going to do is, because we've exposed it on spawn, we're passing in the variable. So on event construct, I can call this straight away, right? And I can basically branch it. Okay. And then what I'm going to do here is this image, I'm going to make it a variable so that we can actually change it. So we're going to call it image pip is variable. We're going to go back to your graph. So if it's true, we're going to do nothing, right? We're going to leave it exactly as it is, right? We like our color, we like everything else. But if it isn't active, we're going to grab our image, right? Then we're going to set color and opacity. Then we're going to make a linear color. We're going to make it red, and it's going to have an alpha of 1 so that we can see it. Then we're going to press play, and you can see it. It's just because of that border that it's kind of crap. Let me get back to here. It's not that. It's this. It's this board. Oh, it's not that. Okay. So it's this one here. Where'd that border go? The border's on the individual pip, isn't it? Ah, this is it here. I went and named this. This is the border. I went and renamed the wrong thing. Right? This is the border. Right? That's the content. That's fine. Right. There you go. So there's our pips. We've got 4 red, 4 blues, which are our active ones, and we've got these 2. Right? Now, if you wanted to, you can do it how you like, right? Now, if, for example, there's 2 ways of doing this, right? Because I'm in a PC controller, this is going to be a lot different, but if I want a quick key, I can do keys. Or sorry, key, and then pick a number, like let's say 0, right? Now this would be up to you how you did this, right? Basically, if your player becomes active, you can just basically do the create widget and add to viewport. Or if it's part of your character as like a billboard, then you can set it to visible there. I'm just going to do it as an example here, right? So basically what you could do is you could say flip flop, right? Let's go bang, flip flop, create it, right? And then, I mean, if you have a reference to it, you can delete it directly for the reference, but we've not, so we're going to have to do get all widgets of class. Now you have to remember, in this case, if we had more than one player on the screen, this would delete them all, right? So you wouldn't want to do it this way, but since we've got it as a generic widget on the screen, we can do it like this, right? So you've got to try and spell it right. So we'd say wpips, and then for this one we'd just say for each loop. We could say 0, get a copy and index 0, because we know there's only going to be one, but the safer way to do it's like this, I suppose, right? So get all widgets, and then you would just say remove from parent. Plug that in there, right? So now all we need to do is press play. So as you can see, not there. Hit the 0 button. There it is. Hit the 0 button again. There it goes. 0. There you go. We have an XCOM style pip counter. Right, so I would apply that to our 3D model above their head, wherever you want it, however you want to do the UI, it's up to you, blah blah blah, but I would do something as simple as that and then work on it for there, right? Because I can't tell you how you're going to do it, if you're going to do it with interface calls, whether you're going to do event dispatchers, whether you're going to have direct calls from... You're probably going to have direct calls from the player controller, actually, because your enemies, in fact, all your stuff in an XCOM type game, you're not controlling the action, right? It's basically the game controller that controls all the action. You're just giving it commands to do, right? So, like, for example, if you want to move from one place to another, you're not directing that. You're just telling it, right, I'm moving from there to there. Player controller, can you do that for me? Move him from there to there. And it's the player controller that does it, right? Right, now... Right, Aladius, if you wanted a button to do it, right, all you do is go into your input settings and set up a button to do it. Right? Simple as that, right? So all you need to do is go in here, into there, project settings, right? Then down on the left hand side here, you've got input. You would set up as an action button, right? And then you would come down to the bottom of your list. You'll have a new action map in there, right? And I'm just going to call it pips, right? And then this is going to be, you'd set your key up, so we'd set it up exactly the same. That's it. We now have a key called pips. Okay, we can stop this. We can go in here. Instead of doing this, we just type in pips, plug that in, press compile and save, right? And now if we press 0, there we go, there's our pips. Pips off, pips on, pips off, pips on, pips off, pips on. Okay. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. As a little tutorial for the start, it's taken up pretty much nearly our first hour. These things are never simple, right? But, right, okay, here's how right, to close up, we've got that. That's a good start. So now I would refine it and refine it and refine it and refine it until I was absolutely happy with it. So I would implement it now into the next system, like our hit point system, right? So I would be creating my structures with those variables, then I'd be mapping these across to this, where I'd maybe have the function take in the two values. So update pips would take in like the two HP values, and then that's me got a function that then I'd write a function that basically calls the pips to do that. I'd pass those two variables in, and then pips would set itself up as required, etc, etc. Then you would do it, then you'd be building on the next part where the actual character takes damage. So on the received damage, you would basically update the damage, and then you would tell it to say update pips after that, right? So you've got a chain of events. Okay, so player gets damaged, apply the damage, update pips. Okay? That's your line of logic. Okay? Character takes damage, apply the damage to your structure, update your widget, or update pips. Okay? Simple as that. Just break your work into smaller packages and gradually build up your code. Okay? Then in between times, if you're not happy with the UI, the widget, you can go away and create your graphics that you want to make it super smashing great. You want to make it fancier, you want to make it flash, you want to make it jump about the screen. But just do the simple things first. Get them working, and then gradually iterate and make it slightly better, slightly better, slightly better. Right? And by the time you've done it slightly better, about 10 times, it'll start looking pretty darn good. Okay? So, on that note, guys, if you're enjoying the stream, hit like and subscribe. I'm going to have a quick cigarette break, so check out the description for links to the Groenland Discord server, my personal server, Discord server, my Patreon, and my previous game on Steam, which I'm sure La Casa del Gaming is now going to type something in the chat to tell you how great it is, and you should all buy it because it's only $1. Right, guys, I'll be back in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Okay guys, we are back. Hopefully you got something out of that little tutorial there. And now I've got to delete it all. But that's okay. Right, so we're just going in here, getting rid of all that stuff that we just did. I know, waste of an hour, but it's not really a waste. Helping somebody out, you know. That's what we don't mind doing sometimes. So we just take that out, close that down. These are automatically saved. You don't need to hit the save button on project settings, right? And we can basically now just delete our individual pips. And we've probably got these open, so I'm going to just close these in the editor just so we don't bork things. Right, and we'll just close that. We'll delete the child first. Tosha Chais don't speak, I don't know what that is, Ukrainian, Russian, I don't know. But whatever it is, I don't speak it. Unless it's English or really simple Spanish. Okay, so what we're going to do today is work on a bit of AI. Now, I did create Parasite AI last night, right? But for some reason it wasn't working. Right? And we had our parasite zombie, right? Now, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if this suddenly starts working, okay? Just because AI is kind of funny like that, and yeah. Right, so what we do is we had changed this to mutant, right? And we checked it last night and it was working. Okay, the guy was running about and doing stuff, right? Now, when we created this last night, our mutant was not running about. He was just kind of standing there, looking all sad with the world. But we don't want him looking all sad with the world. We want him to wander about to start with. Okay, and we want to shoot him. So, let's have a look. Right. Now, you can see there that he's basically not doing anything. And that's not what he should be doing. Okay. So I'm thinking here that there's some kind of a spelling mistake or some weird stuff going on. So we're going to have to troubleshoot that and take it to there. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our code. We've got destination, that's a vector, and we have this destination, and that's fine, and this is the only thing that this could be. Right, now here we've got destination as a blackboard key, which is correct. We're setting the value. Ah, duh. Look at that. Radius, 0. That would explain it. He's basically, I'm telling it to not go anywhere. You see, I did this late last night when I was going to lose concentration and completely missed the fact that it was set at radius 0. Right? Which means that obviously it ain't going to do nothing, because it's always going to be at the target. Okay, so now he's going to wait for 5 seconds and off he goes. He's going to wait for 5 seconds and then off he goes. Now, I do not like that animation. Right? I absolutely think it looks ridiculous. Now, a monster isn't supposed to look ridiculous. Right, now, that animation might not in itself be a terrible thing. It might be that animation right. The question here is on this, basically it's really on this idle run thing. We need to, I think we're going to have to pick another walk for this, because that walk is crap. Right, the standard walk, right, that's just basically walking. That's not exactly very scary either. Right, I think this is the one we're using. But on this creature, it might look scary. I don't actually, let me check which one we're using for this. Yeah, I think the problem with that is it's too few frames, right? It's not giving us a... so that might be better. Even, yeah, that kind of drunky one is better. I'm not too keen on the arm out, that gives it too much of the zombie vibe. I mean, it is a zombie, but these aren't supposed to be like zombies as in they're chasing you to kill you. It's, they're kind of infected, so it is a kind of different thing. Right. Yeah, those are a bit just too stereotypical, aren't they, of a zombie? I mean, I know these are actually zombie. I'm kind of going with that one, FRW3, right? So let's change our blend space, shall we? What was the name of that? It was FRW3. Right, and that is that one. Okay, so if I do, yeah, but it's not, is it? It doesn't seem to be FRW3. It was 2. Right, okay, we prefer 2. Okay. That one. Okay, save that. So now though, our thing might be a bit too fast. Let's have a look. Apparently he just does what he wants. That's weird. Right, okay. I know what it is. It's because this thing here is at run. Okay? Oh, you can actually... Right, okay, whatever. Delete. Alright. It's because it's immediately going to run, whereas we want them to actually walk. Now he's way too fast, right? So we're going to have to go in here, into character movement, and his maximum walk speed is going to have to be like 50. Now, we don't want these creatures to necessarily be fast, right? That's kind of not the point of them. Right, but now we need to go back into here, back into here. I've got that 4, so that's going to be 50. And play. See, that's a lot better. We did shoot him there. Now, one of the problems is that those animations are not on the spot, right? So That's why he's sliding all over the place. Right? Right, anyway, we're not worried about that stuff just now. Now, here's the interesting thing. This is going to be a fun part of the process. Now, what we want to do, right, this is going to be weird, but bear with me on this. This fire right is going to have an AI stimulus. Okay, now I have never actually used this before, so we're going to have to find out what we actually need to do. Auto register as source, and it's going to be a site. This makes sense so far. Okay. Right. Okay. Now, I haven't thought about this, guys, so you'll have to bear with me. We're doing a leap of faith here. We've got our parasite AI, okay? We've got a controller. Right? And then we're going to be sensing. I wonder what this tag is. I think you can put. Yeah, I think we might need this, right? We might use this tag for fire, right? But what we're going to say is has tag. Okay. And we're going to say player okay, and we're going to be doing another branch here. This is the first pass on this, right? We'll probably end up redesigning this, but that's okay. We just want to do a bit of testing on it. So we'll grab that. And our next one that we're going to do is if it has a tag of fire. Okay. Now in our BP fire, see we've got this component tag. Now, I'm just wondering if this is the thing that's fired. Right, I'm going to say fire. And I'm wondering if that's going to actually do the job for us. If that's... It is a stimuli, right? So that would make sense. So... back here, we can basically do two things, right? What I'm wondering is, I'm going to do fire. Right? And then we're going to branch. And this would actually go off false. Right? Then what we'll do here is put print string, okay, and say spotted fire. Okay, so if that's true, now normally I would group these. Normally I would group this code into has it sensed and is it a player, or has it sensed and is it a fire. Okay, so I would have two branches on a sequence, and if it's those two are true, then it goes to the player stuff. If these two are true, then it goes to the fire stuff. Right? You guys can do as you would normally do it. Just depends on your use case in this scenario. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get our dude, which is here, right, and I'm going to move him over to our fire. Okay, then I'm going to get our player start. I'm going to get our right over here, so he's going to have plenty of time to spot that fire first, right? So let's try it, shall we? Let's see if we get spotted a fire. Apparently not. Okay. AIC parasite, site config, site sense. Now remember, we did do it on tag, okay? So it might have been the fact that I've not set that up as tag. Right, so basically if I do that, right, and I say fire, this might well work. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break that for now. I'm going to plug this in here. And if it's true, I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to do that. Oopsie. Okay, and then we're going to check out what this tag is later. Now this should fire. Okay. And it's not. Okay. AI perception. Interesting. Auto register as a source. It's an AI sense site. Have we got anything else? That weird setting that tells you no. Let's try that again. Okay. He's not got a duh. He didn't have AI perception, so of course he's not going to see nothing. Duh. Another duh moment. Right, so we're going to give him sight. And we're going to give him sound as well. Dominant is going to be sight. And we'll leave these, maybe we'll not leave them as default. Maximum age is 5. That and that. Wait a minute. Right, that's okay. We'll not set the hearing up yet. Well, we'll set the basics up, right? We'll set these. We'll set that to 5. We'll save that. Right? But the point here is we want to see we're now back to where we were, right? That this might have been okay. So I'm going to do that. it's not. So we need to do this. But we need to go over to this actor and we need to make sure that at least the one in here has that tag, right? And he spotted a fire. Okay? Okay, so we spotted a fire. I'm a bit disappointed that this stimulus thing wasn't fire on the tag. Right, because I really want to see what that is. What I'm going to do is, I want to see what this is. I'm going to do append. Right, we'll say spotted fire. We'll add a pin. And I want to see what this is. Right, so this can go in here. As I said, I've never really done much else with the brake stimulus, right? I've never done anything with this type of stuff, right? And if I'm going to be doing it, we might want to find out what these, well, obviously exploration age, but what's this strength? Is that like a normalized value of what, like if you've got two different stimuli, which one is actually the stronger of the two stimuli? You see what I mean? Be interesting. But anyway, right, what I want to see if that tag says anything, and if it doesn't, then that obviously means that the stimulus that we added to the fire and the tag that we put in it, like here, means nothing, right? It's only well, I mean, you could still use it if you've actually queried this and then ask for the tags, but it would have been so much more useful if it was passed through to the stimuli, right? See, it's got none. None. So that's kind of crap. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick test on that. AI stimuli tags UE4. I'm going to see if this actually really means anything. Well, that's a make. can make a stimuli, right? But I would have thought that it would automatically be done if you put it in the tags here, right? It's a bit crappy. So it didn't really give us the answer to anything there, did it? Alright, I think we're going to have to do a little bit of a holding pattern on that one. Okay, so we're going to have this parasite state, so we're going to have these, and we're obviously now going to have fire spotted. Okay, because what we want is for the creatures to do is for certain creatures to be drawn towards fire. Okay, so obviously we needed AI stimulus on the fire, and then we need it to then react to that stimulus, right? So with that in mind, this is going to be, we're going to add a decorator on the blackboard, right? And we're obviously going to have to add a keyboard key here, right? It's going to be an enum, parasite state. Okay, and the enum type is going to be parasite state. Save that. Behavior tree. And now this is going to go, and we're going to have a selector, and the selector is going to have a decorator, which is going to be the blackboard, and the blackboard, it's going to be state. And this blackboard selector can go, and that's going to go in there, right? So if we're idle, right, so we're going to give this a name, and we're going to say is idle. Okay, then we're going to duplicate that, and then we're going to start building this out. We're going to say fire spotted. Okay. And this is probably going to be, to start with, it's going to be a sequence, right? And we're basically going to do this, except we're going to set the position to the fire, okay? So we're going to need a new key, and it's going to be a vector. Right? And it's going to be fire position. We don't actually need to do the, we could do it as the actual fire blueprint, but we'll leave it for now, right? But as a little test, what we could do, okay, let's do that, because we're bonkers, right? What we'll do is, we'll do an object, okay, and we'll say fire, right, and that's going to be an object, and it's going to be BP fire, okay. We're going to save that. Now, this is where the fun starts. If it's a fire, right, we're going to get blackboard. Now we're going to be doing this anyway, we're going to be doing this for the player as well, but I'm just going to do it for the fire for a bit of fun, right? We know that it's spotting the fire, that's for sure, right? And we're going to set value as object, okay. Then we're going to make literal name, which, believe it or not, is going to be fire, and then the object itself is going to be the actor, okay. Now all we want to see at this point is when the monster spots the fire, that it sets the variable, right? That's all we want to see. Once we see that, we're cooking, okay? Wait, is it? Ah, there it is. Okay. Right, so if I press play, we've got none. Which ain't great. Access none, trying to read property. Okay. Don't know why I did that. I tell you what we'll do. We'll do a short one stepper. We'll do cast to BP fire. Yeah, I think it probably needs that. But anyway. And it's that, it's going to go in there. Save that. Go to here, press play. Why are you not being a fire? Am I going to have to do a self here? Is that what the problem was? I'm going to dismiss that. Still got none. We've still got an error. Access none, trying to read call get blackboard. What are you talking about? You crazy thing. Right, you know what I do here, by the way? Just to stop any nonsense. Right, I just say BB. Right, when I say blackboard. Right. Set. And then we should be able to do that. Right, and then once we do that, we're all set, ready to go. Right? We're setting the blackboard at the start, doing all our thing, and then when we come down here, we don't need to do this. We just say get okay, and play. And it's still set to none. What is going on? I'm going to go through again here. And I'm not going to cast it. Right, I'm wondering if this is... Apparently we don't have a fire. Errored again. Okay, whatever. Now, a fire. I mean, that's okay. Now, we could do this as just an actor, right? Actor. Right, we'll do it like that. We'll save that. Baby tree, start. Just none again. What is going on here? Right. Okay, so we're going to do that, right? I'm going to reset that. I don't know, maybe it had a different reference because I changed this to BB, okay? If this doesn't work, then I'll try and actually change just a name or something in the blackboard to make sure that we're getting the right thing. That the blackboard's right, because this is a bit weird and it still says none. I'm trying to read BB. Okay, this is a bit what? Are you nutter? Right, this I think is because I've placed it right next to it, right? And it's perceiving straight away, okay? And the problem is that this has got a 1 second delay on it, okay? So basically what's happening is this is firing before this. Right? So fundamentally, if I do this and say get BB, right? And I say is valid, it ain't going to be able to access values in the blackboard until the blackboard's valid, okay? I know this is getting a bit messy, but we'll tidy it up at the end. Right, so this is why it's thrown up all these errors, right? I'm pretty sure. And it's still none, which is fine. I'm not so bothered about that anymore. Now, what I'd like to see at this point, see the problem here, right? This is the problem. Perceive is kind of like, what do you call it? It's like an overlap, okay? It only fires once, right? So, basically, if your thing is already perceiving it, okay, it isn't going to perceive it again. Okay? Until it breaks that perception and then sees it again. Okay? Now, I think the problem here is that we have actually set up our parasite dude and his perception to max age there, right? So what I'm thinking is, if I max age it after 0.1 seconds, he's going to continually lose focus and continually fire perception. That's my plan here. Or that's what I'm trying to make him do. And it's not working, which is awesome. Now, the question now is it ever getting down to here? I don't think it's ever going to there. Right, and I think that's because our zombie's too close. Okay. Now, what we could do is move him even closer. And turn them round. Right? And then what we really need to do in here is pull this right down to like back to 0.2. Because our dude should do in here, he should wait for 5 seconds to do something. Right? 5 seconds. So if he turns round, then he's going to set our thing. Or, like if he turns round this way, he's going to spot it. So that's what we're hoping for here. And of course he immediately doesn't do that. I'm guessing what I need to do really is just get that and basically place it everywhere. Just duplicate it. Right, so that he spots one eventually. Okay, so we do that. And then down. We do that and then down. I don't know where fire 2 is. Obviously over there. We do that. And then down. See, there we go. Okay. So he's spotted one. So now, please stop spotting them. Well, we can resume. And we have BP fire. Okay. Right. So on that, we are going to finish off. So if you've enjoyed it, hit like and subscribe, guys. I'll be back at 8 p.m. And if you'd like, check out the description. The Groenland Discord link is there, along with my personal Discord. A link is there, also to my Patreon. And finally, there is a link to my previous game on Steam, which is only $1 right now. So even if you have a little look at it, that's going to help. So thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you again. Bye bye for now.